Welcome to the LDHR podcast, where ministry leaders grow together. In this series, Across the Ages, we are taking a deeper look at the staff life cycle, how people across generations perceive it, and the expectations they have for the 6 phases: recruitment, application, onboarding, development, retention, and separation. Diving into each aspect, we hope to uncover what each generation craves to be truly known, needed, and have a future within the organization. We have 4 amazing panelists from 4 different generations to help us identify general principles while providing practical steps that those in LDHR can implement immediately in their various contexts. In this last episode, we'll explore the development, retention, and separation aspects of a staff member's journey. We're so glad you're here. Kind of moving forward, once people are been onboarded and they're here, they're on staff, kind of that development and retention pieces come next. And right now, data shows that 40% of millennial and Gen Z employees say they would leave a job if there aren't clear development opportunities. So what do development opportunities play in your thought process of wanting to stay in a role and wanting to leave a role?
I feel like this is one of those things that the leaders that I had, and I knew I was finished with that role, there wasn't anything clear. There were no roles already existing that fit my gifts and abilities. I just remember my supervisor saying, "Your next role will be important, and so we should take some time to consider what the possibilities might be. And it might take 6 or 8 months, and that's okay." So that everybody kind of had a lens thinking about what you might need down the road. To me, that affirmation, the development of potential, totally relates to being seen and known. And then for me, if it had some challenge to it, it would be particularly attractive. I like a good challenge.
It sounds like they were giving you those key development assignments, KDAs.
I'm
along the
not
way.
kidding. Yeah, all along the way.
I think with Gen Zs, the hardest job is to put them in one place for a long time. They are distract a lot, like a kind of generation where there is no stability. So even with working with organizations, staying them long term, I think it's like the shepherd needs to be creative to give tasks for the sheep. Hey, do this, do this. Something new task. Otherwise, if the job is routine, they feel, okay, I'm doing this for 5 years. I need to change. So, because the world is influencing the Gen Zs in that way, a very unstable generation. So, to keep them long term, I think instead of driving them or instructing them, maybe shepherding should be creative in upcoming future.
And I think as well, even considering whether somebody should be doing your job. I remember I was enjoying leading a team in the north of England, and there was clearly somebody on the team who, unless they did my job, I think they would have left. And so just because they had great leadership potential and they went on to some senior leadership in the organization. So I could have stifled that by not moving on. And we moved to London at that point so that we gave space for someone to take that leadership role on. And so I think even asking that question, who should be doing my job? Do I need to be this person right now? We love to talk about succession. We need to be planning succession, but there is that, let me not stifle somebody else's development. When could they start leading and sort of doing a good job of handing that over, discipling them into the role as soon as we can.
I love that. I think current leaders could also look at parts of their role that they can give away, and it creates more space for the leader to maybe look at another aspect of movement building that might need to happen. But I love that you were generous that way, Jeff.
Continued development, really important. People want to learn, and there's so many opportunities out there. I think I've seen a lot of people turn outward from the organization for those opportunities, which is not bad, but sometimes it can be. But it's a tricky thing because we have all these wonderful tools and development that we aren't using to their full potential. And so we want to create more and more, and we're not sticking kind of to the what is really good and central and would we be great to perfect. Sometimes we need a reminder of what we already have to not try and reinvent.
It sounds like that an interesting tension that I'm hearing pull out between some of the generations of like everyone kind of wants to grow and have new experiences, but like, yeah, where are those coming from? Are they clearly laid out for you, like kind of being told of like, okay, this is your next step, this is what you need to do? Or yeah, are we pouring into some of these programs, these tools that we have? Or yeah, being that creative shepherd of like, let's do something here, do something here. And so sounds like we all kind of want those development opportunities, but they kind of come in your unique package of what people are looking for. So what role do you guys think recognition, maybe flexibility and culture play in this retention conversation?
I think Jeff was talking about it before, just kind of that idea of feeling known and needed, feeling like my work matters and is meaningful. I'm not sure there's a person that exists that wouldn't like to hear that.
What somebody said to me recently, it's like a younger staff said, they love the long service awards part of our conferences. They love seeing the people who've been around a while for decades and hearing their stories. But the fact the organization is recognizing, commending people on the long haul, not that it's dismissing people who come for a short time, but there's something deeply encouraging for people who are quite new to the organization to see that people wanted to stick around for that long. And the organization is saying, we recognize this, we think it's great. So you have that kind of culture. I think that's always been an important part of that culture, honoring those who've borne the heat of the day for years and years and have invested so much in building the movements here and around the world.
There's a kind of recognition that is affirming work that you've done. And I love it when that you're able to do that in a good way. But there's also recognition of moments in your life that are important, that when leaders take note of it really matters. For me, my dad died in 1989. It was the week before a national leadership conference that I was required to go to. And, when I called and said what was happening, they all knew I was at home because I was given the flexibility to be there while my dad was dying. But instantly, relieved of the need to come. And then when my dad did pass, I got a phone call from Steve Douglas, who was the US director at the time. And it was the days of landlines, and we didn't have an answering machine at my family home. So I'd been out running errands. When I got home, one of my sisters goes, Andrea, you had a phone call from somebody named Steve Douglas. And he just said to say he was sorry about Dad. And so I didn't even get to take the phone call. But the fact that he made it in those days said a lot to me, and that I had the ability to stay and serve my mom during those days of deep grief is something I'll never forget. It told me a lot about the staff care things that Gordon had talked about previously, and a recognizing like a critical moment for me and for our family.
As a new staff, when I joined, people say, hey, crew gave me a gift as I completed 10 years. Hey, crew rewarded me 25 years. These people recognize us as our work, even though sometimes our work is unseen. As a new staff, when I see moms, they can take care of their kids as well as work on campus. I think no other company or organization, I don't feel they will be this much flexible. I appreciate what the crew is doing with recognizing the unseen work of missionaries. Yeah.
Like Kelly, you said, I think most people have a longing and a desire to be recognized, whether that's, yeah, a big thing or sometimes just that personal conversation or like you said, Andrea, like recognizing those specific moments in our life that really impact us and that people see that and see us as a person. Or even just those stories you guys said of an older leadership coming in and just kind of recognizing who you are and seeing your life. I think I'm hearing from all of you that really has a big impact on retention of people being seen and known. So we've talked a lot about what would make you want to stay. Is there anything that would make you want to leave your role?
I think if I feel like failing at my job and I'm maybe not getting the support for that, or I just feel like I'm not being very effective, and maybe there are other places that I could be more effective that might make me want to move on. Well, I think the number one reason why people leave what they're doing is other people, isn't it? And I was just thinking maybe ungracious people exist everywhere, even within our own organization. But if there's such grace around you and people who just sort of pushing to follow Jesus and modeling their lives on him, it's the people that often keep you where you are. And so having a good team of people around you who love you and value you. So those, if that's not there, there's kind of the opposite of the things that will keep you. If there's an absence of those things, then that may make you feel like moving on.
I think for me, it would have to be a redirection from the Lord, because I think I've been around long enough to look at it and go, our organization is a good one to live out a calling of winning and building, sending in the power of the Holy Spirit. And the conditions around that, the Lord can often use for my sanctification in ways that maybe I don't even realize I need. But there's a lot of opportunity if I needed a different context, if I needed a different environment, a different team, a different location. I feel like the Lord would have to redirect me in some way to say, you know what, that was then, this is now, turn right and go toward the exit.
Maybe I'm answering the flip side of it and sort of repeating, but I think especially in the work of human resources, you can have a lot of less glamorous part of your job. But I'm thinking of just gratitude or people recognizing, hey, that was hard and I appreciate you working on it. That can totally keep me going. And it was so worth it, whatever we had to go through. So, yeah, I don't know what to call that other than it's a form of recognition or gratitude. But if I weren't hearing that, that would be really hard. You could talk about leading to burnout or why am I doing what I'm doing? But the Lord has been gracious and to me and hearing that, and I will keep on keeping on.
Yeah. That support piece, right? You're in it together. That you know that people see what you do, but you're also supported through it.
Well, and like confirmation, like the Lord is using me and has put me here in this time for a reason. And that's so affirming to me.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
For me, when I'm joining, there is a person who is very scholarly guy who studied in a big seminary. He came up with this many papers and he said, those are all the articles written against crew on internet. Okay, because of this, I don't want you to join. See, God is calling me and I felt I need to join this organization to share the gospel. So far, I've been volunteering with crew for 3 years, and now I did 1 year internship and joining as a staff. So far, crew never asked me to compromise with the gospel, and they never asked me to go to any particular church or only believe in this kind of theology. So when the day comes, if they ask me to compromise with gospel, I think that will be my last day. I don't have problem with crew because this is a para church organization. This is not a church. We work in marketplaces, we work at the streets, and we work in open universities, and we reach unreached people. So maybe our strategies may be different, but gospel is same, and our values since we began, we are continuing on the same win build sense. So he was upset, but it took for him 6 months. The same person who told me not to join, he came and said, I'm proud of you, Gordon, because I'm taking 6 students every Sunday to church. Until and unless I believe our values are clear and our mission is clear, our vision is clear, I think people will stay long. And when the changes are not explained clearly, I think then it will make people leave.
I think there is some commonality, but just even the distinctions of how each of you answer and what comes to mind first, whether it's the values or that team dynamic or that recognition of what kind of stands out to you the most in answering that question. Thank you. So, lastly, everyone, how organizations help their different generations leave well can help them maintain engagement to the last day, leave with dignity, and even become advocates afterwards. So, what kind of offboarding processes would make you feel respected and supported?
There's two things that come to mind. The first is a meaningful thank you and appreciation for the service rendered. And that's probably going to depend on the person, what's meaningful and stuff like that. It shouldn't be the first time somebody hears that, maybe the last time. And I want that impression going out the door to be meaningful. The second thing I think is clear process. In the same way, when you join, what are the steps? What do I need to do when? What information should I have now, even if I'm thinking about leaving? I think that just is a service we can give to those who are changing direction and moving in a different way.
And I think if there's an attitude of sending, we're not like the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. There is this sense of, we want to send you to where God's calling you onto, just to your point earlier, Andrea. God's clear direction taking you somewhere else, and trusting that God is doing that with someone that we've benefited from somebody being with us for a time, and that we want to send away our best as well. We want to bless others with good people, and it's having that sort of kingdom mindset, sending them on to something else where, God willing, they will thrive even more. Yeah, there are tricky situations when people are leaving for difficult reasons, but I think as much as we can to be sending people, because we're the sending people, aren't we?
I love that.
Yeah.
Besides those things, I think of asking for feedback, maybe. And I guess if I'm talking about me, things I've seen or experienced, and then just being interested in my future and the spirit of sending me, and expressing interest and concern, prayerful sending for my future.
Yeah.
It's how can we send you well to thrive in what you're doing next and have good feedback for you, but it's a constructive feedback for us that we can get better. There may be a reason why somebody's leaving and we could have done things differently. So learning on both sides is important.
Yeah, I think prayerfully, peacefully, and respectfully will help offboarding process smooth. And because sometimes if there is some misunderstanding or something, it is better to clear it off. Because again, I feel shepherds need to do that, because sheep sometimes cannot express. Maybe if shepherd comes and have a clarity why they're leaving, it will be better. Because Gen Zs, they don't say the reasons, they just leave. That's the problem. So coming to them and checking with them will give a peace. Otherwise, a herd sheep, when it goes out of the flock, it will damage the reputation of the shepherd and the flock. So
Thank you. I hear
Such
a
a
lot
good
of
point.
that personal and professional that we talked about earlier coming back in. Like, we need both of those in this process and that posture of sending. And then adding that part too of leaders, that shepherd coming in and to say, hey, let me support you, even if the sheep is having a difficulty in expressing that or communicating that well. Again, that personal relationship really does have a huge impact on that for sure. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for joining us in this discussion. It's been very enlightening for me. And I really appreciate each of you, Andrea, Jeff, Kelly, and Gordon, for joining me on the LDHR podcast. So thank you for your time and your wisdom and for all your faithful service for how many ever years you've been serving with Crew. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
Beth.
so much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope this conversation gave you a few fresh ideas for how you can strengthen the staff life cycle stages in your own context. We'd also love to keep the conversation going. What topic would you like us to explore in a future Across the Ages episode? Send your thoughts to llama@cru.org. That's LLAMA@CRU.org. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. We'll be diving back into our Growing on Purpose series with some great topics ahead. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.